So this story begins. This story begins many, many, many hundreds of years ago. Long before any European people were anywhere near Essex County. This is an old Oneida storytelling. And it goes back long before there was any Europeans here. So,
And before the dinosaurs.
not before the dinosaurs. After the dinosaurs, but before chubby white guys with beards that look like Santa Claus. How's that? So anyway, the story begins. Coming in here? Right. He brought his lunch. Come on over, you're right on time. Come on in. We're just starting the story. Oh, I understand. Well, come on back and hear the fun. So anyway, as every good story starts, once upon a time, I was told by a lovely Oneida lady that when I tell this story, I didn't say once upon a time. Because they didn't say once upon a time. I said, did you say long, long ago? Yeah, well, okay, fine. So, there was a turtle. Who likes turtles? Who likes playing in the muck like turtles? That's my favorite part of turtles, is playing in the muck. Well, there was this neat little turtle. This neat little turtle had himself a beautiful little house right beside a big, beautiful pond with lots of weeds and chickweeds and cattails and all kinds of good little mucky, smelly plants. And the water was nice and green, just the way he liked it. There was lots of little bugs that he could eat. And Mr. Turtle was a happy turtle. Except every year it got cold. Come on over, have a seat. Every year, of course, it would get cold, and then it'd get warm again. And every day it would get light, and then it would get dark again. And all Mr. Turtle, you can sit too. Everybody here is under the age of 12, so okay. So all Mr. Turtle knew about time is that there was light time and dark time, there was warm time and cold time, and there was in the between times when it was not quite dark and not quite cold. But that's all he knew. And one thing he knew is that when the cold time was starting and the warm time was ending, that means the noise was going to start. And that noise was up in the sky. Now, he didn't know what to call the sky. There was this big blue thing above his head. But every year, when the cold time was coming, and then every year again when the warm time came back, there'd be lots and lots of noise in the sky. And what that noise was something like, honk, honk, and he'd hear it. And he knew the cold time was on the way when after the warm time he heard the honks. And he knew the warm time was on the way when after the cold time he heard the honks. And for years, Mr. Turtle watched. It would start to get cool, honk, 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 and they go that way. And he didn't know what they were, but they were geese. All he knew is that they were up in the sky and he couldn't go in the sky, but there they were. And then when the warm time was ending, he'd hear honk, 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 and they'd come back the other day. And he wondered where they were going. He was always curious, what are they doing that's so important that they have to go so far away and make so much noise? And finally, one year, it was getting to his least favorite time of the year. It was getting cold. And the cold part for being a turtle was not good, because all a turtle could do was kind of wiggle himself down into the muck and maybe pull in some weeds and make himself a little pile or something and try to survive the winter there. And it was very cold, and he didn't like it very much. Well, one particular year, the warm weather was ending, the cold weather was on the way. He was watching the geese come from this way, which he didn't know was north, and he watched the geese honk, 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 and he sees a big pack of them in a great big V, and they're flying over honk, 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 and there's another group honk, 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 and it goes on all day. And he notices one great big V full of geese fly over, and the last two geese in the flock, they fly down to the ground, and they flop down into the water in his pond right in front of his house. Mr. Turtle sees something he's never seen before. He had never seen the geese up close. He'd only seen them when they went honking by in the sky. So Mr. Turtle got up on his four little turtle feet, and he wiggled his little turtle bum, and he got out there as quick as his little turtle legs could carry him, and he walked up to the turtles and he says, "Excuse me." Mr. Turtle wasn't very polite. And the geese turned around and they both swooped their heads down at him and went, honk, because that's how they talk. Mr. Turtle was taken aback. He backed up and shook his head. "Excuse me, I want to talk to you." "Huh? What? Honk?" Oh, the geese did have some words. Mr. Turtle said, "Where are you going?" "Honk. South." Flying south. South is good. "Well, where is this south? Why are you flying south?" "Come on over, we just got started." So Mr. Turtle's talking to the geese, and he hears them honking, and he wants to know what they're doing. So he says, where are you guys going honking and flapping all the time? And the geese say, honk, we're flying south. Honk, south for the winter. Are you telling me that you've got a different house for the cold time? In the warm time you're here, but in the cold time you go somewhere else and you live in a different place? Honk, fly south. South is warm, south is nice, south is good. Honk, south for the winter. Wait a minute, says Mr. Turtle. Are you telling me that your other house in the wintertime is warm? Oh yeah, south is warm, south is good. Honk. Mr. Turtle's like, you fly somewhere when the warm's going away, and where you're going is always warm. Honk, honk, south is warm, south is good. Mr. Turtle thinks about this for a minute and says, well, wait a minute. If south is warm, and I hate being cold, is there any chance that I could fly south for the winter with you? And the geese heard this, and the geese started laughing. Mr. Turtle's upset. Why are you laughing at me? What's so funny? And the geese say, turtles can't fly. Turtle got no wings. No wings, no fly, no south. Silly turtle. Mr. Turtle realizes that the geese are telling the truth. He doesn't have any wings. He can't fly south. He can't fly anywhere. So he guesses he's going to have to stay where it's cold, and that makes him very sad. Well, the geese are watching him, and he pulls himself back, and he starts to bring the muck and the mud up around him to build this little house for the winter. And the geese kept talking to each other. I did this one time, and somebody thought I was doing Mars Invasion. But that's another story for another time. So finally, the geese feel bad for Mr. Turtle, and the one goose waddles over, because that's what they do, they waddle. And they go, turtle, honk, turtle, honk. Mr. Turtle looks up, what do you want? You said I can't go, leave me alone. We're going to let the train go by. Choo-choo. Hurry up, any other time you go racing in the car. So one of the geese come up to Mr. Turtle, and they swing down their big heads down the middle. Mr. Turtle, honk. We were thinking about it, honk. And if you really want to fly south, south is good, south is warm. If you want to fly south, we have a plan. And Mr. Turtle says, I would love to fly south for the winter. What's your idea? And this is what the goose tells Mr. Turtle. We're going to find a stick. We're going to find a stick about that long. Can you hang on really, really tightly? And Mr. Turtle says, see these jaws? I can hang on. I can hang on so tight you couldn't shake me off. And Mr. Goose says, well, Mr. Turtle, if you can hang on real tight, don't let go. When we fly away, we'll take you with us, and we will fly you south for the winter. South is good, honk. South is good, south is warm, honk. Mr. Turtle says, if you're willing to do that, I'm willing to do whatever you tell me. So the geese, they go rooting around the edge of the pond, and they find themselves a stick about that long. And it's a stick about that round. And it's a nice, strong stick. And the geese pull it up into Mr. Turtle, and they say, Mr. Turtle, this is what we're going to do. One of us will grab the stick on this end, and the other one will grab the stick on that end. And when we're ready to go, you grab the stick in the middle with your teeth. And you hang on for dear life, Mr. Turtle. Can you do that? Mr. Turtle says, I can do that. If you're going to take me south, I can do that. Come on in, it's not too late. And the geese say, well, Mr. Turtle, honk. If you can hang on to the stick, we'll fly you south. So the one little goose waddles over, takes his right foot, grabs the left end of the stick. And the other goose waddles over, takes his left foot, grabs the right end of the stick. And he says, all right, Mr. Turtle, honk. Hang on for all your honking life. Hang on tight, Mr. Turtle. And Mr. Turtle waddles up, and he takes that stick in his jaws. And I'm ready. Let's go. And the geese start flapping, and they flap their wings, and they flap and they flap, and they walk and they flap, and they get their feet moving, and they're walking and they're flapping and they're flapping and they're walking and they're walking and they're honking and honking and flapping and walking and honking and honking and honking. And finally their feet come up off the ground, and they flap and flap and flap and flap, and they fly really hard to catch up to another flock that's flying overhead. And sure enough, they look over their shoulders, and there's Mr. Turtle hanging onto the stick for all he's worth. And the geese are honking. Hang on, Mr. Turtle. I'm hanging on. Don't let go. I won't let go. And after a while, he realizes that they're flying through the clouds. They're flying so high that he's seen mist like fog but there's no fog in the sky, and he realizes he's in the clouds. And if he's that close to the clouds, he's really, really high in the air. And he looks down over the stick, and he can see his pond going far, far away. He's so high up in the air and so far away from his pond, he can barely see it. And he's so scared. He's terribly afraid. And he calls out to the geese, "Hurt me down! Hurt me down!" And the geese can't hear him because they're honking and flapping and honking and flapping. "Hurt me down!" Is he saying something? Honk! Is he honk? I don't know. Honk! And finally, Mr. Goose cries out, "Set me down! Too high, too fast! Put me down!" And the geese are like, "Is he saying honk? I don't know. I don't talk turtle. Honk!" And finally, Mr. Turtle can't take it anymore. He's so far from his home. He can't see his pond. He can't hardly see the ground. And he desperately wants to get down. So he yells at the geese, "Put me down!" And of course, when he opens his mouth to yell, he lets go of the stick and he starts to fall. 400 or 500 feet up in the air, the geese are flying. And Mr. Turtle falls and falls and falls. And he gets himself turned around, and he can see the ground coming faster and faster and faster. And he doesn't know what he's gonna do. But like every turtle, when he's in a dangerous thing, he pulls in all of his little turtle arms, and he pulls in his little turtle tail, and he finds he's heading for another pond, and he pulls in his little turtle head, and he comes in just right so that when he hits that water, his little turtle shell hits the water and bounces and skips and bounces and skips, and he goes sliding across the pond, up out of the water, into the mud, and he's moving so fast and so hard that when he hits the mud, he doesn't go up and over the hill, he goes right into the hill. And he goes in so far that he can't see the light, and he stops moving. Mr. Turtle lays there for a moment, thoroughly scared, completely afraid. He can't see the light. He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know if he's up or down or north or south or back or forth, or maybe even dead. But he opens one eye, because it's a lot easier to see that way if you open your eyes, you know. And he opens one eye, and he can see just a tiny little bit of light way over here on the side. And he opens his other eye, and he can see a tiny little bit of light way over here on the other side. So he thinks, I got to turn around. So he sticks out one little turtle foot in the front, and he wiggles another foot, and he sticks another little turtle foot out, and he starts to grab the dirt and pull, and grab the dirt and pull. And bit by bit, Mr. Turtle gets himself all the way turned around so he can see out the tunnel from where he came smashing into the mucky hill. And he's got to be about 12 or 15 feet down inside of the dirt at the side of the pond. And he can see a tiny little spot of light at the end of the tunnel, and he knows that's where he crashed into the hill. Well, he wiggles and shimmies and wiggles, and he gets his back feet out, and he's moving all four of his feet, and he wiggles his shell, and he bobs his head, and he starts to make himself a little bit of room to move around, and he realizes, as the light filters in, the roots of all the plants up on the top of the hill are growing down inside of the earth, and even though everything is frozen up top, the roots are still fat and juicy. He reaches out with his little turtle mouth and goes snap, and eats himself a little root. And there goes a little bug walking by, and snap, he has himself a little roasted cricket dinner. And Mr. Turtle realizes that he's warm, he's safe, he's dry, he has food, and he realizes that he may not have flown himself for the winter, but he's got a new house. Every day he gets a little braver, he crawls out to the hole at the end, he sniffs with his little turtle nose, and if he doesn't smell anything dangerous like a coyote or a big old eagle or something, he gets right out to the edge of the pond, and he gets some fresh water, and he eats some roots and berries and frozen bits and goes back in, and he spends the whole winter in that hole in the mud bank beside the pond. The following spring, Mr. Turtle, feeling the earth start to get warm and the roots start to get green, waddled up out of that little hole to the side of the pond. He saw the ice was melting away, the water was coming open. He couldn't smell anything dangerous, so he stuck his nose in the water and had a big old drink of water. And just as he pulled his head up out of the water, coming from the distance far to what he now knew was south, he heard honk, 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 honk. And sure enough, those big old honking birds were coming back from the south because the warm time was coming. And wouldn't you know it, but as they flew overhead, two of those geese broke away from the flock. They flew down in a big circle down to the ground, landed on either side of Mr. Turtle, and guess who it was? those same old two honking geese that had helped Mr. Turtle the year before. The first goose says, "Mr. Turtle, you let go of the stick. We were so worried about you, but we couldn't stop. We had to catch up with our flock before the snow flew. Are you all right?" And Mr. Turtle said, "Oh, you honking geese, I love you so much. When you let go, we didn't let go. When I let go and fell, I thought I was a goner for sure. But when I hit the water, I hopped and skipped and hopped and skipped and went right into the earth. And I have a brand new home, and I've got juicy roots, and I've got soft, warm earth, and I have a new home. And guess what? I flew south with you, not very far, but I now have a warm place for a winter too." So Mr. Goose and Mr. Goose were very happy to hear that Mr. Turtle had a new home. He had a new adventure. The turtle tried to fly south for the winter, and although he didn't get very far, he had a new home that was warm for the winter, warm as good, warm as south. And from then the turtles and the geese became great friends. If you ever go to Point Peely and you talk to the nice people there about turtles, they will tell you that many turtles to this day will dig a hole in the ground, they'll burrow themselves in for the winter, and that's their nice warm winter home. And it all started hundreds and hundreds of years ago when Mr. Turtle tried to fly south for the winter. I thank you.